This could be the fastest wide receiver class like ever. We're going to get into day one of the combine. Who ran, who didn't, what stood out for, other positions as well. Welcome to Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, and of course, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Tracy, and we want to thank you for making us the first listen of the day. It's Combine Day, the first day, everything's kicking off, and if we didn't start with Kenny Pickett's hand size, no, I'm joking. But the receivers, they kind of stole the show with the 40-yard dashes, and I'll talk about some things that were kind of, impressive, and some things that kind of were a little questionable with how it worked out. But just disclaimer, there are a few guys that did not run. I'm pretty sure a lot of people wanted to see them run. Drake London, he did not run today. Quarterbacks worked out as well. Malik Willis, he did not run. We'll talk about if that affects him or not a little bit later in the show. Reggie Roberson, he was a guy who I really wanted to see how well would he test. Again, this is a guy who, before the ACL injury, averaging over 21 yards per reception at SMU. After, coming back from the ACL injury, it went down to 12. Now, still got to watch it from this past year. Was it a quarterback change situation? Or was it just him maybe not being what he was the season prior before the injury? So we'll look into all that, but we got to start with this fast 40 class. And the first thing that really jumps out to me, and we'll get into what some of these guys ran. A lot of the guys that ran extremely well, I was a little surprised to see to the extent in which they ran, because I feel like a lot of them are so polished as receivers. Like, it's not just like, oh, well, they run fast, so what? Because you'll probably see a lot of that. Just because they run fast 40 times doesn't mean they'll be good receivers. Chris Olave has the second fastest 40 time right now in this class at 4.26. All right, receiver out of Ohio State. Burned it up, right? But this is a guy who is probably the smoothest route runner in the class. If you would have asked me what it looked like on film, because he's so smooth, I would have said maybe, 4.45, 4.44, something along those lines. But when you watch him with Justin Fields, clearly he was able to get behind defenses. But, he understands the little nuances of route running, selling in zones. He's a terrific receiver, but, 4.26 is blazing. So this is a different class. Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor, I won't pretend like I watched him, but he ran a 4.21. That's the fastest 40 time ever at the combine. So, maybe he is one of these guys just a blazer, but we'll get into some of the other guys and kind of what they ran and what it means for them. But do you have any takeaways from kind of just this class being historically fast?
It's not just the level of athlete for me as well. We probably haven't talked about this on this show yet, but I know you've talked about it on your Niners show, and I've talked about it in reference to the Chiefs. It pays to be a multi-sport athlete when you're growing up. It gives you something else. There's a lot of guys in this class that ran track, and that actually helps. Are they that much faster because of the start? You can get a 10th out of it easily, right? So, yes, every year the athletes get better. But there's also a thing to be said that you are a multi-sport athlete that's been in blocks before, that understands how to attack and how to get out of your stride and how to stay low the first 10 yards so that you can build momentum. I think that really says a lot about this. And it's not just to make a claim that, hey, you shouldn't put this into the times that they ran. They're legit. But it's also the fact that when they get on the field, they can stay low, they can get out of their breaks, they can keep their center of gravity low. I think this is all an advantage, and this does reinforce that not only the fastest, it might be the most athletic overall, because there's a couple of things that stand out to me too. I want to get your reaction to this first.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the 40-yard dashes right now, and if you would have told me before this combine that a 4.38 ran by Wan'Dale Robinson would be the 10th fastest 40 time in this class, I'd have been like, dude, no way. but 10 guys ran faster than him, including 3 guys running in the 4.2s. Now, the times I'm looking at right now, they may still be unofficial. But Tyquan Thornton, Chris Olave, Christian Watson out of North Dakota State, we're going to get to him. All 3 of those guys ran in the 4.2s. All right, now, Christian Watson, it's somewhat surprising. If you watched him on film at North Dakota State, he ran away from everybody. It was clear this guy can run. Now, typically don't see guys 6'4", 208 pounds run as fast as he did, but we have seen that in the past and it maybe not work out because maybe the guy wasn't as pure of a receiver. And that receiver I'm talking about, Stephen Hill, who was drafted by the New York Jets. All right, he was a 6'4" guy. He ran in the 4.2s, right? I believe it's 4.28. But Christian Watson is intriguing because, again, yes, he has the speed element to his game. And I was curious to see, is it because he's playing against FCS guys and he's just faster than them? He went to the Senior Bowl. First day, he showed the nuance as just a pure receiver, being strong at the top of routes, catching the ball away from his body, in breaking routes, terrific, breaking guys off in routes, winning on the goal line. But I wanted to see, can he win vertically against these FBS guys, guys out there like Kobe Bryant and from Cincinnati and those guys. And he did. He showed he could. But I mean, people had him pegged, maybe 4.3, 4.28. That's blazing. That's blazing. And there's another guy that really here, a couple more surprises here. Some that aren't as surprising. Calvin Austin. We watched him at the Senior Bowl. He was fast. It was clear. He ran a 4.32. But Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. Do you know what he ran?
4.33.
4.33. I mean,
what? Listed 28 pounds heavier than Calvin Austin, right?
Wow. I watching him at the Senior Bowl. I said, man, this guy has some twitch to him. He has some suddenness to him, more than what I was expecting. 4.33 is definitely faster than what I was expecting.
Sorry, I was wrong. It's 41 pounds.
Oh, man. What do they have him weighing in at?
At 211.
Wow. Running a 4.33. And one other guy who didn't crack 4.3s, but he still ran extremely well for him. And that is Georgia receiver, George Pickens. All right, now we know Carl Pickens' son. But this guy measured in at 6'3", 195 pounds, and ran a 4.4 flat. For him, that's fast. That's fast. I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking maybe 4 or 5 something, and he kind of slide a little bit. But when we get into the mock draft come Monday, I think him running this fast, as well as what he did prior to the combine, which and pre-injury, he was good pre-injury. I mean, if you would have asked after his freshman year, most people were pegging him as maybe the top receiver that was going to be in this class. Now, obviously, things change and it's a fluid process, but him running the 4.4 after the injuries he's dealt with, I think that helped him tremendously. All right, we're going to get into more of these because there were.
Yeah, I got a couple of things we got to go over.
Disappointing things. I don't want to say disappointing, but interesting things. Football, it might be over this season, but basketball is full steam ahead for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player props, to where to find the next fire head coach, where is he going to go to, right? What spot is he going to land in? BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all of the sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. Our BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, combine odds. Who's going to – there was a prop in there for the fastest 40 time being, the over-under was set at like 4.29. Or 3 guys ran faster than that. All right. But, they got the Olympic coverage and information as well. So head over right now to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. It's BetOnline, where the games start. All right, so I know there was something that you wanted to kind of go over. So the floor is yours, and then we'll get into some things that were, I don't want to say disappointing, but just intriguing, I guess you could say.
Fair enough. That's fine. I wanted to pick up where you left off with Pickens, because Pickens is one of the illustrations, because as good as these 40 times are, there's a big disparity at the 10 splits. And I think that's actually more important for the rookies going into the next level, is being able to accelerate off the ball. Pickens had one of the slower 10 splits at 1.59. And I think that is indicative of coming off the injury and all that. But the long speed, I think he can get back into. Just want to point that out. And I want to ask you, who do you think had the best 10s? Who's the most explosive guy out of the stance?
Calvin Austin?
Close. Not quite. He came in at 1.5 flat.
Okay.
The interesting thing here, 195 pounds out of Western Michigan, Sky Moore at 1.46. One guy tied him. Who do you think it was?
Okay, Danny Gray?
208, 6'4" Christian Watson.
Wow.
The fastest 10s in this group are probably two of the most disparate body types in it as well.
Right.
That's acceleration, and that can get you wins early in routes as a rookie, and I think that's something to rely on as well. That explosiveness, when we get their jumps and everything else in, it'll tie into the athletic matrix. And folks, if you don't know what that is, I'm sure I'll be explaining it ad nauseum as we get closer to the draft, but that's explosive.
Yeah, and Christian Watson, he jumped 11.4 broad jump, and I believe it was 38-inch vertical jump. So definitely had the explosibility. I mean, that off the charts. I think people will be, curious to see what he does with the 3-cone and shuttle if he does those tests, especially for a long guy. What's his change of direction going to look like? Something that was very interesting to me because I thought this guy played fast on film. We've talked about him a lot, but Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, his first 40 time was 4.55, I believe it was. Second one was 4.50. And 4.50, he measured in at 6'2", 225 pounds. Like, that's good. All right, yep. 4.50 is good. But when you see how fast everyone else ran, it's hard not to, react just a little bit to that and not bump him down. I'd say right now, it's still going to be one of the first receivers taken if I'm the one drafting. But, you look at some of these 40-yard dashes, and again, these guys that are running these fast 40 times aren't just speed guys. I think that's the interesting thing. You talked about Sky Moore. He ran a 4.41. He's not just a speed guy. Chris Olave, one of the fast time, not just a speed guy. Khalil Shakur out of Boise State, not just a speed guy. So that's the part that I think is even most intriguing with this class. But I think when you go back and you look at Treylon Burks, again, biggest question mark is probably going to be separation. And if you are a guy that runs 4.5, which is still good, 6'2", 225 pounds, but you can't separate, can you run away from NFL receivers? I still think he plays faster, but I saw someone throw a comp up there, N'Keal Harry, who measured in similar, height, weight, speed, and everything, and he had questionable separation issues at the collegiate level. Now, the difference I'd say between those two guys is I didn't see N'Keal Harry win vertically in the sense of just being able to run by guys. Obviously, he won vertically with contested catches, but that's what's going to be interesting. How does that knock a Treylon Burks throughout this process, if at all? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I'm not that surprised. I didn't think he was a 4.3 guy on film. I don't think that takes away from what he does on the field. I think it maybe knocks him down because of the direct comparison of overall speed. But man, with his shake, his bake, at his size, the bigger thing for me, I'm not worried about the 4.5. I'll bet you he breaks 4.56 at his pro day. I'm sorry, 4.46 is what I'm saying. I think he gets into the 4.4s pretty easily at his pro day. I'm not concerned about that. What I am concerned about is 33-inch vert and a 1.5 4.10. The two things that are most indicative of explosion off the ball. That's what I'm concerned about, because we've seen him do, jet motion. We've seen him do low drags. Like, once he gets going, he, like you said, can run away from people. It's that initial burst that maybe he has a little bit harder time as a rookie getting away from coverage. That's what I'm going to be interested to see.
Yeah, and not just that, watching him do his receiver drills, there, obviously his routes on there, T-shirt and shorts and all that good stuff.
Right.
But there's still a little greenness in his route running, just from a smooth. He's smooth, but there were a few stumbles. There were a few, choppy steps at the top of routes, which again, that might be different from what he's been training on doing. So, there's their element of it as well. Getting new coaching. I mean, I saw Keenan McCardle out there as a receiver coach. Dub Williams, shout out to Dub Williams out of Stockton, California. He's a Ravens receiver coach. He was out there. Kansas City Chiefs had a receiver coach out there. So there's several different guys that probably teach things different, coach things different, and they're asking receivers to do things different from what they've been training doing. So, there's that element of it as well, to where maybe Treylon Burks was doing some things not quite used to, but I would say he did not help himself with this, only because if they had, if maybe testing was a big question mark with some of these guys, like George Pickens, they answered the bell here. So
yeah, that's fair.
Treylon Burks, we'll see. But Daniel Jeremiah told me people thought he'd run closer to a 4.5, if not 4.5 flat, and that's what he did. So maybe it was as projected, and people like Daniel Jeremiah would still be as high on him.
I think you're right. Like I said, this doesn't change anything for what I see on film. He's still the same player he was before. Everyone else running that much faster than I expected on film, that gives them a little bit of bump. I don't think it knocks him down. It's just relatively, it widens the gap a little bit. But I also want to say, this is just one part. There is the pro day. Maybe he wasn't 100% today. There's a couple of guys that I think were. I'm gonna claim him now. I don't know if you're ready. I'm gonna claim my guy. Khalil Shakir is my guy at 4.35 and 1.49.10. Had some great jumps as well. You guys heard me talk about him in the last couple of weeks. Like, I really like his direction. I'm claiming him now. Nobody else can have him. He's mine. It's over. I'm just saying. But
there was a quarterback that ran extremely well. All right. And we're going to see how it helps his draft stock, as well as a quarterback that chose not to run, and just how the ball was coming out of some of these guys' hands. We're going to talk about that. But Built Bar, we are back, in this time of the year, a lot of people have pretty much given up on a lot of their New Year's resolutions. But the one thing that's helping me, a guy that loves to snack a lot, is Built Bar. And really, it's the Built Bar Puffs. All right. And if you haven't tried the Puffs, you are missing out. I think it's the best tasting, not just Built Bar that's out there, but best tasting protein infused bar that's out there. Our Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They are fluffy. They are marshmallowy. They are not just a protein. They are a treat, and they are covered with 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite, and they will be your favorite as soon as you try them. I guarantee it. They got yummy cinnamon churro. They got coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good. So good. And those are just some of the newer flavors. All right. All Built Bars are covered 100% chocolate, including the Built Bar Puffs, of course. All right. They are low in calorie, high in protein, and you can replace these with your candy bars. All right. Like, don't eat candy. Eat the Built Bar Puffs. All right, because they taste as good as candy, but much better, and they are much better for you. And go to Built.com right now and scroll down to the macros chart, and you'll be blown away by what you see. High protein, low in calorie, high in fiber, and low in carb. All right, and most Built Bars, they contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, all right, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Man, this stuff's not good for you. All right, but Built Bars are, and they have a ton of flavors. Mint brownie, coconut almond. They got new flavors all the time. This month is chocolate cookies and cream, white chocolate cookies and cream, excuse me. And they're all delicious, and new flavors coming out all the time. In fact, if you think of a flavor that you might like, I mean, they might make it, and if they do, I guarantee it to be really good. All right, Built Bar, they're all about making it taste good first. They want to make it delicious, and then they'll kind of circle back around and figure out how to make it healthy for you. And I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every time. All right, they do not miss when it comes to that. If you want some of these right now, and I'm pretty sure you do, go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, Ryan, we're kind of teased up these, some of these 40-yard dash, and that's what everybody watches the combine for, right? For the most part, they want to see how are these guys going to test. And Desmond Ridder, surprise, unofficial, if I'm still looking at it right now, but it might be just unofficial time, 4.4940. I saw some people kind of overreact a little bit to it. And again, I'm pretty sure most people are going to worry about how he looks throwing the ball, how's the ball coming out of his hands, the timing, through all these drills, how, the deep ball, is it going over the shoulder, all those type of things. But 4.49, it helps with how you're using it. And immediately I saw someone say, first round for Desmond Ridder. What do you think?
I've had him as the number 3 or 4 most of this process so far. So that doesn't change it for me. We knew he could scramble. We knew he could gain yardage, not just a first down, but serious yardage with his legs. That does not surprise me. The throwing is what has to elevate him, though. I question, though, wonder if Malik Willis saw that time and said, oh, hold on, maybe I'm not going to run right now. If Desmond's going to throw that out, I'm going to hold off. Because I think they're the two most nimble in terms of gaining yards when plays break down with their legs. And so does that draw him up a little bit? Doubtful. I, again, don't think that changes anything we saw on film. I don't think teams are going to overreact to Desmond Ridder running that fast, but it is nice to see. I was more impressed, honestly, with the 36 in the vert. You know, a guy can get off the ground, and that also goes to, you know, diving over piles in short goal line situations, you know, avoiding some tackles, just being a general athlete. I like the look of it.
It was a tight end out of Maryland. He ran extremely well. Chig Okunwoku. Okuwo. I don't want to. I'm sorry. I already butchered his name. Aquakwo. No. Okay, there we go. You said it better than me. 4.52. That's blazing. EJ Perry, quarterback out of Brown. He ran a 4.6 flat. Really good for a quarterback. Just to kind of show that you have that athletic ability. I heard an interesting stat while watching the combine, and it was that quarterbacks last year had the least amount of time to throw the ball than ever before. So it might not seem like a big of a deal having someone who can move. You either better be an amazing processor and get that ball out quick, or be able to throw on the move and make some of those second reaction throws. There's guys out there, man. Derek King out of Miami. I thought he threw the ball well. I thought the ball looked good coming out of his hands. He measured in kind of, you know, short, tiny guy, weighing under 200 pounds. So even when you think of guys like Russell Wilson, who, you know, wasn't the tallest, you know, shade over 5'10", he still was over 200 pounds. He was a stockier guy with a thick lower body. Not really seeing that with Derek King. Has the mobility, but maybe the you know, the height and weight not quite ideal for someone of his size. But at least while he was throwing the ball, I thought the ball came out of his hands well.
What little I saw from him, I thought the same thing as well. I thought Sam Howell threw the ball pretty well today. Again, you know, mixed opportunities here, throwing in and out. Don't get to see their motion that well. I thought he and my guy Zappy did pretty good too. Like, Zappy's not an athlete. That's okay. It's about delivering the ball at this point. But one guy that I was a little bit surprised with it, and it's not a great time, and 33 and 10 in the leaps. I was actually impressed that Kenny Pickett came in that well. Other than the fake slide, I don't know that we would have called him necessarily, you know, a 4.69 kind of athlete with those leaps. Were you surprised by that at all?
Yeah, he ran well. But I mean, when you watch that play, and again, I know the fake slide, he still was moving. So I wasn't necessarily surprised by, you know, his 40 time. I thought he moved well. The thing that I wanted to see most from him was, you know, how well did he throw the ball, you know, with those small hands. And there was a lot of talk about his hand size just leading up to the combine. And today, the talk did not stop. Hands measured in at 8.5 inches. And I had a guy, Joe Goodberry, he covers the Cincinnati Bengals. He measured his 11-year-old son's hands, 8.5 hands. And he took a picture of it, showed it. His 11-year-old son has the same size hands as 6'3" and some change Kenny Pickett. But, you know, if he throws the ball well, it's not going to matter. And there's a quarterback over there in Cincinnati who didn't have the biggest of hands, but, you know, Joe Burrow didn't matter, led the team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, thresholds are thresholds for a reason. A lot of teams will clip you for that, but not all of them. It only takes one. It only takes one of the quarterback-hungry teams. So I don't know that this is hopefully now we can get past this story and just move on to how he throws the ball. And I think he's going to have a pretty good pro day as well.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to. I guess, and it's been a lot of years since someone has came in with hands his size, which is really small. The only quarterback to have some success and have hands that tiny, Michael Vick. And it wasn't Mike Vick's arm that necessarily made him as special as he was. So we're going to see what happens.
Mike Vick.
Yeah, he ain't no Mike Vick. We're going to see what happens to him and other guys. By the time we come back, we will talk about the offensive line. They would have tested some defensive line.
Everyone will.
Defensive backs. We got a mock coming up on Monday. A lot of stuff right here on the Locked On NFL Draft Show. So make sure y'all keep it locked right here. Of course, you can follow me at Eric_Crocker if you want up-to-date information on what's going on with the combine. Also, follow my co-host Ryan Tracy at Ryan Tracy NFL. So yeah, man, shoot us a follow. Be locked in on everything that's going on if you can't catch it live. But that's going to do it for this episode. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.